pens and papers out, or your notes, or however you take all of your notes, let me tell you a little bit of what's going on in the Texas region itself. You ready? So I've got Texas region, us, everybody on this call, there's 79 of us. So there's 79 agents right now. You guys have 75 listings right now that you're carrying, 75 listings across the board. And I want to give a special shout out to Midland. Midland, Texas has 41 of those listings, you guys. 41 of those listings. So they definitely have listing inventory, and it's a different market, right? They have to like work to get price reductions, which is something we haven't heard of in like a couple of years, right? But listings are always a gift from the real estate gods, and we would rather have them than not have them, right? Listing volume 27.4 million is what you're carrying right now. You have 216 pending units, you guys, 216 pending units right this second. That is a record for us in Texas. That equates to $85 million. And that is really, really good. Closed. You guys have already closed 175 units. You guys are getting so close to that 200 unit mark. So 175 units closed. That is, write this down, 2.3 homes per day. 2.3 homes per day is what you guys are selling right now. Big shout out to Sarissa and Dallas and Ellis County running past the 50 unit mark. They have closed 56 year to date. So shout out to that Dallas team. Way to go, you guys. 60 million closed is what the sales volume is looking right now. $60 million closed. And you guys are representing 270 buyers right this second. 270 buyers right this second. Average price point that you're looking at is $343,000. That's what you guys are closing, $343,000. But let me give you some good news. For your pendings, we just talked about 216 pendings. Your average price point is $394. So you're busy, not just increasing pendings, but increasing your price points in those pendings. So that's really good. And we like these price points because that 400,000 is that bread and butter, yummy, good, yummy business, right? Like we like luxury. We're all about it, but bread and butter, everyday buyers and sellers, like those like move very quickly and we love them. Let me give you some events that are coming up really quick. I don't want to spend a lot of time so we can get into our content for the day. Events coming up, write this down, Wednesday, March 24th. That is our 100,000 dial day, 100,000 dial day. What it is all of Place Nation, everybody is coming together to do 100,000 dials. And that's going to be 100 or more agents doing 1,000 dials each. And it's going to be basically the biggest dial day in real estate history ever. There's going to be lots of publicity around it. So if you're into that sort of thing, I'm going to post the link in case you've missed it, that you can sign up for it. Totally optional. The next thing I want to talk about is Tuesday, March 30th. Tuesday, March 30th. There's a Chris and his entire group. They're putting together an all-day virtual event. It's called Playbook of the Pros. Playbook of the Pros. It's a one-day virtual event where Chris and Ben have gathered some of the top professionals kind of in our industry to give their playbook on specific topics. Let me give you some of those topics. It's so little, I have to like actually take my paper out and like practically have to get glasses. Write down these topics. And when you write down these topics, if any of them look good to you, circle them and just pop in for those. Don't spend the entire day. It's 10 to 3. And I don't expect you to be on your computer for like, I don't know how many hours that is, like 8 hours or whatever, right? Like, I don't expect that, right? Like Chris has been talking about growth plans. Which of these topics is on your growth plan? Like jump in for those. Okay, so here's what they're gonna be talking about. There's Playbook of the Future, the Shift Proof Playbook, the Productive Social Media Playbook, the Talent Scout Playbook of Champions, the 3 C's Playbook, Culture, Community, Charity, Building a Luxury Playbook in Any Market, the Ultimate Open House Conversion Playbook, the Profit Playbook, the Playbook of Efficiency and Effectiveness. And then Chris is going to end the day with design the plays, call the plays, run the plays. So Ben is going to start the day at 10. Chris is going to end it at 3. And if nothing sounded good to you, I would maybe jump on at 10 o'clock and 10 o'clock and like maybe 2 o'clock and hear Ben and Chris. potentially that's what I might do. So anyway, that is Tuesday, March 30th. I will pop in the link for you in the chat box so that you're able to do that as well. And it's free, you guys, right? So don't spend the entire day on this, but I want you to know that it's there and available so that you can level up on your growth plan. Okay, so today I've got a bunch of our Texas leaders, right? We've got Sarissa and Casey and Amanda and Brandon and Jordan and Laura, right? And all together, they oversee, you guys, over 70 agents in the Texas region, right? And they're super focused on helping everyone achieve more. So I wanted to kind of talk to them today about like what they're seeing, what's going on, some of the questions you guys brought up, and see, like, they've been in the industry so long, you guys. They have blazed the trail for all of us to do what we do. So let's start. I want to get you guys involved. Like, if you're on your phone, like, find the chat box and do me a favor. I want to know, like, go back to your business plan. Think in your head about your business plan and write in the chat box, how many listings did you want to close in 2021? Type it into the chat box. Type it into the chat box. How many listings did you want to close? How many listings did you want to close? I'm seeing lots of numbers: 30, 14, 65, 13, 9, 12, 10, 20, 12, 50, 14. How many listings did you want to close? How many listings? All right. I see some more. All right. So then my next question for you that I want you to pop into the chat box right now is, what were some of the strategies you said you would do to take those listings? And the first 10 people who set up their strategies, tell us some of their strategies. I'm going to send you a gift card. So think about your strategies. What were your strategies? What were you thinking you were going to do? Because I want to start with that, because we're going to talk about business plans for a second. What were some of the strategies? Awesome. Awesome. Let's start there. So on that topic, we have, gosh, how long has it been? Like, where is Jordan on the call? Do I have Jordan? No. Oh, she's probably coming back. Okay, so like maybe we'll look at some of the rest of our. There's Jordan. I see you. Jordan's been like 6 months, right? Like, do you remember like going like 6 months ago, October, and we were writing business plans, and it felt good, and everybody was so excited. What do you see happening since then, since it's been 6 months? Like, what are you experiencing, and what's kind of your feedback? Like, what do you want to share with us today?
I think all around the market is harder than we anticipated in October. Not a bad thing, it just is harder. And so I think that there's a lot of things in real estate that you can choose as a distraction. And we're getting away from the playbook. We're getting away from what we committed to as an agent, as an organization. We're getting away from those goals with distractions. Our team is reading a book, The War of Art, and it talks a lot about distractions getting in the way, or the limitations that we put on ourselves to keep us from reaching our full potential. And if you've ever dieted or decided to do a new workout regime, you know that life gets in the way. And it almost does this intentionally to test how resilient you are towards the goals that you said you wanted to. Am I muted? Sorry. Yeah, life gets in the way to throw and test your resolve. Is that really who you want to be, who you said you wanted to be? Are those goals that you set in October really the goals that you want to accomplish? And here's some obstacles to get thrown in the way. And it's your opportunity to cast a vote in the direction of, that is the person that I want to become. But that's going to require that we cast off all distractions. So if you wrote your business plan and expireds wasn't one of your business plans, on one of your strategies for your business plan, what are you doing on an expired call? to me, that's a distraction. Like you sat down with your partner and said, this is what we're going to do to achieve the goal. We have to go execute that at a high level. Additionally, in October, the market was still really hot and we still had a whole lot going on. And I like to parallel us to professional athletes. And when they're in off season, professional athletes will practice 3, 4, 5 times more than they do when they're in on season, when mostly what they're doing is games. And the practices are a little bit. We have seasonality in Texas, especially in Dallas, and we are in off season. So think of football players in off season. They are at practice probably 5 days a week with a couple of recovery days, and their practice is hard and it's pushing themselves, et cetera. To me, that's our lead gen. And that's what gets us to hitting our numbers when it's during on season, where we tend to coast and lead gen steps down because we have so much business that we have to show buyers, be at appointments, et cetera. And during that season, it almost feels like business falls in our lap. That's because of the work we did during off season, right? You don't decide to get in shape. Tom Brady doesn't go get in shape when football season starts. It's all the work he does before that matters. And so we just got to get back to the basics. We got to get back to our business plan. We need to revisit that with our partner. This is what I committed to do. This is what I'm going to do. And I have a resolve to do it. And I'm not going to let anything else distract me that doesn't pertain to my goals. If I set this to a goal, if I want to add expireds next year to my goals, great. Let's visit that then. Let's give you resources then. But let's get back to what we said and committed to doing.
I have never heard that analogy, not in that way. And I really love it because actually, like, it's human nature. I find myself also thinking the same thing, like, wow, gosh, like, talent is everywhere. It's just showing up in my lap, right? Like, listings are everywhere. Like, I just, like Ben was saying on a webinar yesterday, like somebody just like goes to the bathroom and they come back with a listing, right? Like, it feels so easy sometimes. It's because of the off season. It's because of the lead gen time that's been put in. Gosh, I love that. Anybody else have feedback on business plans and anything in that realm? Like, what are you seeing? What feedback would you give? What advice would you give? Sarissa or
just to like follow up on what Jordan said, one of the things that comes to mind is, you piggybacking on that, you made a plan, right? What we're saying is you don't have to be great and amazing at all the things. Like, if we can just focus and have you be amazing at a couple of things, like utilize your God-given gifts, utilize the things that you actually love doing, and go out and do that 10x, right? That's where you're going to get your results. You look at somebody like Chris Suarez, built a $20 million base business back in the day, just on open houses, did 20 mil just on open houses, and then he started adding additional legs. I built a $20 million business just on Sphere, and then I added additional legs like open houses and whatever, right, to get to 40 mil. And now then I started buying leads. That's when I started buying leads, guys, was like, I already had $1 million business. So $1 million income business. So I think about that and I think, man, like, we don't have to be great at all the things. Focus is where you're really going to excel, and just staying on that. So that just is a piggyback on Jordan.
I love that.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah, go for it.
I love the choice of words that Jordan used when she said that there's a lot of things that we choose as distractions, because it is totally a choice. And sometimes the choice is made in the back of our heads and we don't realize it, but it is still a choice. And the awareness of the choices that we're making is probably what's going to make a huge difference. In my market right now, I'm seeing a lot of distraction. And a lot of those distractions are valid, very, very valid. We had to reinvent ourselves. We had to relearn real estate in a way that we haven't had to do it in years.
So what's it looking like in your market right now? Just because and the reason I want to really spotlight this for a second is what happens in Midland starts happening in smaller towns all over within a year of Midland. Like Midland is a little bit more volatile, but that's not like just Midland. It'll be like other small towns that we serve in the next year or so. Because this is like this inventory crisis won't be around forever. Toronto, you guys, Toronto, Canada is seeing 8 times the inventory that they did 2 months ago, right? So like we're in an inventory crisis in many places, but that's not going to last forever either. What are you seeing in Midland right now?
Yeah, so almost overnight, it feels like our inventory went from roughly 300 active listings in our area to almost 900. So almost 3 times as much inventory. It feels like almost overnight. So we went from multiple offer situations, what you guys are living in daily right now, to the complete opposite. So we had to relearn our scripting when we go on a listing appointment to really hone in on pricing, to really work for those price reductions for the listings that we had prior to this shift. And it shifted really quickly. So a lot of our sellers still have not grasped this and refuse to accept the fact that we are no longer getting multiple offers and we no longer can just have our way as sellers. So I'm having to work really hard with my agents on, hey guys, nothing is going to cost you more than holding on to inventory that's not selling and it's overpriced. So let's work on learning how to speak to our sellers so that you can get them on the realistic plane. And I'd rather they be the honest agent that tells the truth no matter how ugly it is than the agent that gives them the false hope. And we don't know how long this is going to last, but that's what we're seeing is a lot of inventory that we're not used to. Buyers on the fence because they see this inventory coming on, and so they're like, okay, we're going to pump the brakes and wait for something better to come up because it is hitting the market every day. So on one side we have listings we cannot sell, and on another side we have buyers who are not ready to pull the trigger because they're hoping for something better. And so it's taking us 3-4 times the amount of effort that we were used to in order to get one pending. So I think we're all just really tired and just working extra overtime hours to get those pendings.
So it's interesting because Midland is seeing that on the seller side and everybody else is seeing that on the buyer side. It sounds like no matter what market you're in, you're having to relearn scripts, you're having to reposition yourself in the market. And it's so important to do that. And when you don't do that is when you're behind and your sales suffer because of it. I agree. So let's talk about distractions. What distractions are we seeing that could cost us our year? Anybody have anything on that?
Yeah, so I'd like to share something that I'm seeing a lot for our agents, especially our new agents, right? And that's letting other people run your morning. I think it's easy to say, hey, I've got active clients right now that need me, and I can put my scheduled business building activities on hold, and then we don't protect our time blocks that are going to help us build that pipeline, right? And I love the analogy of having like an off season and an on season, but you still got to warm up for the game, right? You still got to make sure that you're putting in that hour of cold outreach in the morning, or whatever your lead generation activities are, right? You want to make sure that there's something there. And so I think sometimes we have this idea that we need to be available to our clients 100%, when in reality, what they need from us is responsiveness and time management, right? So if you have a lead generation block and someone who's an active client, right, who you have a fiduciary duty to, is calling you, I think it's completely reasonable to say, hey, what's going on? Awesome. Well, hey, I'm in a meeting. Let's talk about that at 12. Right? Let's talk about that at 12:30. Let's talk about that at 1. And I'll have some answers for you. Right? And that actually makes us sound more professional. And so I think we have this fear around like they're going to leave us, or I'm not going to be doing my job if I don't answer this question right now, right away. And sometimes we know it's like, it's just an emotional thing, right? And it's going to pull us away. And we aren't going to be able to just erase and replace all the time. I know that erase and replace is a really good skill to develop. And if you're really honest with yourself and you're doing it at a high level, that will be a really good thing for your business. But sometimes it becomes kind of that cop out for protecting your lead generation time blocks or your skill up time blocks.
Really good, really good. Right on. It's like, I mean, it's a good cop out for a lot of us, right? So not making it a habit to do that. I needed something from Ben this week, you guys, and I'll give you a quick example. He texts me back like an hour later and he's like, "Hey, I'm back to back all day today. Can I get back to you tomorrow?" And like, it wasn't an emergency. It's not like I needed him that day or I didn't, like, so like the people at the very top do this, right? If you're the guy or the girl that the second you get a call from one of your clients, you stop everything you're doing and you get to them, like that's what Jordan said, like you're casting a vote for everybody but yourself in that moment, right? It doesn't make you a better agent, right? What makes you a better agent is holding on to your time blocks. And nobody says you have to have 6-hour time blocks. These are 1-hour time blocks, right? Ben always says it's 30 minutes, it's an hour, it's not 5 hours at a time, right? Jordan, you were going to say something.
Oh, I was just going to say, you were talking about distractions, and I think distractions can be like too many more mentors or too many searching for the magic bullet. I compared it to like weight loss earlier. We search for that magic bullet, but when it comes down to it, everything comes down to the basics. It's about calories input, calories output, right? Like there's no magic formula. Yes, you can go through a horrible surgery with tons of risks, et cetera, or you can just follow a basic program, et cetera. The same thing goes for lead generation. The same thing goes for our businesses. No matter what market we're in, no matter how hard it is, it comes back to, hours lead generated, appointments set, appointments kept, studying the market and giving your clients expectation. It's just, and sometimes we take in too many mentors looking for that magic pill when what we need to do is just go back to the game plan, go back to the route that we said we were going to run. That to me is a distraction. Everybody has advice for you, and that's not for your benefit. Many times that's for their benefit because they want to be heard.
I absolutely love that, Jordan. Everybody who knows me well enough knows that I am a big proponent of just get to work, stop it with the motivational multiple calls and the multiple trainings, and just get to freaking work. Like, we have a book of plays that we can follow. We don't need to be on a daily motivational call or a daily training call every single day. I promise you that right now, and I think I heard this Adelina say this a long time ago, if you implement 1% of all the trainings that you've ever gone on, you would transform your business overnight. 1% if you implemented of everything that you've attended in the last few years. So I think Jordan is spot on that with distractions. We're looking for that magic bullet, and I see it every day, everywhere. I would love to just see people sit down and say, okay, I'm going to work on the pie that Ben teaches and just implement that at a really, really high level and not worry about anything else. Because why not? I mean, we're the most successful team in the nation. We have a proven system that we can just get to work on. Why are we looking for something else still?
Right on.
Catalina, I don't know if everybody here has had a chance to take a listen to Chris's Friday call from last week, but it was so good that I actually split it into 2 power-ups and we listened to it the last 2 days. So if you guys haven't done that, go listen to it. He literally, he talks so much about distraction and about instant gratification versus delayed gratification. And so many times our instant gratification is the next lead, or we have a good nurture, so we stop lead generating and we decide we're going to start looking for that nurture, and we or we stop lead generating and we start searching for setting up their MLS search or whatever, which is the distractions, right? It's the distractions from continuing to build the pipeline that we're going to need. And he talks a lot about why don't we make the 4th, 5th, 6th call? And it's our own social awkwardness, right? We don't want to be that person. But what we do is, if you look at the conversion rates, he says, statistically speaking, the 6th call is like a 90% conversion rate. But what do? We quit at the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd call. And instead we go with that new lead that just popped into Brivity, or the person that just called, and which is important. But we stop doing the continued lead generation on that first lead, And then we go to the next one and start back at the 30% conversion versus like, you know, continuing. So weird when you hear your own echo. Anyway, so he says we kill our profitability as individuals because we change it up all the time. Kind of like what we talked about before with Jordan's business plan situation. Like, if you would just stick to the plan, it's gonna work. We wouldn't help you guys make crap plans that don't work, right? Like, we wouldn't. If we didn't think it was gonna work, we would have told you last October. So just stick to it. But when you shift it up all the time and you keep switching it up is when the distraction absolutely kills your profitability. So I feel like that was just like a badass lesson. If you guys haven't listened to that call, go do it. It will benefit you, and it's not just about business. So
I love that. What about, I wrote down, somebody asked, what are the missed opportunities that would lead to more closings in Q2 for our agents? Anybody have any thoughts on missed opportunities that they're seeing in the market or seeing their agents that could take better advantage of that would lead to more closings? Any missed opportunities? Sarissa, you can start off.
okay, so what I'm seeing, I think back to the last time we were in this type of a crazy market, right? And I was closing like this. And yes, I had tons of situations where, you know, I had a heavier buyer business back then. And what I did though is instead of just waiting for MLS to pop up new properties, which I feel like is what we're doing, we're waiting for other people to list homes for our buyers, that then we have to go write 5 offers for that one buyer just to maybe get them under contract. So what I did back in the day was like, I would go find the listings for them. I would go look at for sale by owners. I would go door knock those neighborhoods. I would circle prospect to find the listings. And I would literally make that client come to life. So let's just say I'm searching for a home for Samantha, okay? I would literally call around and say, I have a awesome young lady who's looking for a home in this neighborhood. This is her budget. This is kind of what she's looking for. Do you know anybody? And by having the passion of knowing that like I was helping Samantha, not I was lead generating for any random listing, but like I just needed to find that buyer a house, right? And so sometimes I think we're waiting for other people to go find the listings and then we get in line to write the offer with everybody else. But if we would just get really, really honed in on lead generation for listings, but also for the listings for our buyers, we're actually going to play matchmaker and do a lot less work and spend a lot less time and increase our dollar per hour. So that's just a parallel from the last time we were in this market that I think would be very beneficial.
To add to that, here's something that Ben said on a call this week. He said, every house is inventory. Some are advertised for sale, and the rest we need to go see if they would sell. I love everything you said, Sarissa, right on. Any other missed opportunities that you guys see in our markets right now, or things that our agents are missing out on by not doing something?
I would say, sorry, go ahead, Laura.
In my market, sorry, my dog is deciding he wants to come in. In my market, the biggest missed opportunity right now is unsold listings. And so the biggest missed opportunity is those price reductions, getting those houses to where they will actually attract an offer, go pending, and then eventually close. If we did that on our team, we would have twice as many pendings as we do right now. And I think that that's probably true for a lot of you guys too. Maybe not so much the Austin crew who's selling the houses before they hit the market, but if you have inventory that's sitting any longer than a couple of weeks, you're probably due for a price reduction. Reality.
And your buyers are inventory as well. So if you're not in Midland's market and you're in one of ours, like if you have a buyer who's been looking for longer than 2 weeks, it's time for a serious conversation again, just like you would do it with the seller in Midland, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I know this is coming later. One of the questions that you asked us to prepare for this was, how do we get back on track? And one of the very first things I do when I'm trying to get back on track is I look at my inventory and I go, which inventory needs a price reduction? And then I go back and do a full CMA on it and then revisit with my client, get it priced right to where it will sell. The next thing I do is revisit my active buyers. And then I tell my active buyer, and then I sift through those and say, okay, which ones are right now business? Because that's where my focus will be with the right now business. And not that all buyers don't matter equally. It's just that right now I'm trying to get back on track and I need to work with those people who are going to buy within the next few weeks. And I only do those three things. And then the very next thing I do is shift all of my attention and effort into increasing my inventory to get price to sell now listings, not just listings that we use to get leads, but price to sell now listings, because there's not any faster way to get back on track than having the inventory that someone else is going to go sell for you. You can go, if you're short 10 pendings, you can go find 10 buyers, but it's going to take you 90 days to get back on track. But you can go find 10 listings that sell today.
I love that. And I'm really glad you went there with it, because just looking at our however many agents, 79 agents that we have, probably about 30% look like they're having the best year of their life, man. This is a good year. This is awesome. And we have about 70% who they have some ground to make up. And thank God this is quarter one. And here's Sarissa and Laura and Jordan and Casey. They're like, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's cool. It's only quarter one. We have so much time to do it, but we got to do it. We got to start running the plays. Jordan, you started to say something.
I was going to add to, and I'm guessing you guys are utilizing this, but backup offers have been a great success for us. 20% of listings are coming back on the market. That's assuming there's not a backup offer. So according to MLS, 20% are coming back on. And so that tells me how many percent are going to the backup offer if they did take a backup offer. Not only is it a great opportunity for our sellers because they don't have to come back on the market, and go through that pain all over again. They go straight to the next contract. Additionally, our title company said 20% that they're seeing are going to the backup offer. And so that tells me that 40% are falling out, right? If 20% in title end up canceling and going to the backup, and that's data that we that's not on MLS, and then on MLS, it's another 20% that are falling out. That's a really high fallout rate with buyers. And so there's power in that backup offer, but also knowing your options as far as Ann on our team does a really good job with researching builders and staying up to date with that, and builders on the outskirts and what their price points are and organizing that for her clients. We have to find other solutions in this market. And I think that's where it is. We rely so much on MLS, and this is what Sarissa was saying, you can't just rely on inventory on the market, right? You've got to come up with other creative solutions, as well as for our buyers. I know we're probably mostly utilizing this because we talked about it, or you talked about it, Adelina, but Homeward as a solution. So our team had just a solutions training to talk about what are buyer solutions. So coming up with that. And then additionally, with regards to the backup offers, within our team, we let each other know when a buyer is about to terminate, because we have so many buyers looking in the same criteria. So Amanda may say, hey, I have a buyer terminating on a perfectly good house, but there's one tiny crack in the brick and they refuse to buy it. And I had another team member put it under contract. I think it went vice versa. I think Stephanie terminated and Amanda had a buyer immediately that picked it up and put it under contract. And they just kept going down the road, and they gave them their inspection. And then it was seamless, and the seller didn't have to come back on the market. So it's just that communication, teamwork with the solutions, because we have the best teams in the area, and we should be sharing in that regard.
I really like that. Man, especially the size of our teams, you guys, I don't know if you guys know, teams in general, let me just give you a quick, short education. Teams in general, what they generally are 2 or 3 people, right? And there's a slew of them. There's hundreds of them in each of our, not each of our markets, maybe not in Midland, but everywhere else, right? And they don't have that power, right? Ann's client falling apart and Amanda's client picking it up, right? That's not normal, because most people don't have 10, 15 agents, right? To choose from to do that, right? Who are carrying 60 buyers right now, or however much you guys are carrying. You guys are carrying a lot of buyers. Just remember, just across the board, we're carrying 270 buyers, right? Somebody's got a buyer most likely to fill that gap for you. So I love that. One thing that Ben said yesterday is, how do we build a business? Well, we build a business, and you've always heard leads, listings, leverage. And he's like, no, actually think about it as listings to generate leads, And then once you have so many leads that you just don't have enough time to work your leads and to give the level of service, that's when you add leverage, right? It starts with listings. And sometimes like we get off of that like listing train because we do have other things that we want to do. And like just generally all of us like do that, right? But if you make listings the foundation of your business, it generates the leads that you need so that you build a business that's sustainable and that doesn't have these ups and downs, right? So I love that. Anything else you guys would say on any of these topics this morning?
Hey partner, I think a basic big missed opportunity is taking control of our time. In the beginning, when we're doing our business plan, our calendar not replicating what those activities look like, or as you get busier, not adjusting your calendar for all the clients you have, right? And so in some of the calendars I've seen, and we've revamped a few of them according to the business plan, there would be say 2 to 3 hours a day of cold lead generation and 1 hour a day of follow-up, and then the rest open for appointments or maybe a little bit more cold lead gen. But what we noticed was after the agents had built 200, 300, 400 people in their database, it wasn't, and this is a dangerous line here, but it wasn't as necessary to put in maybe 3 hours of cold calls a day if they were only leaving themselves an hour of follow-up. And so I love that Sarissa reiterated what Chris said. Some of those conversions are 30%, but on the sixth call, it's 90%. So what we found out is we needed more time in our calendar every day consistently to take shots at that 90% conversion rate. And so as agents have began to do that, the appointments are up, the conversions up, and it wasn't rocket science. It was just taking control over your time and actually putting in your calendar what you're doing. And I got that from you. If an appointment went from 30 minutes to an hour, I needed to track that time. So we're trying to be very intentional on our calendars to make sure, one, we're staying committed to it, and two, it's balanced so that we actually do have enough time. I think a distraction is sometimes too much open space in the calendar to some degree. And I don't mean white space. I just mean assumptive, I'm going to have 3 appointments tomorrow, so I'm only doing 3 hours of work in the morning. That's not intentional most times. Most times that's coming from a good place. But 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks of that, and all of a sudden it's like, dang, my brevity is looking kind of bad right now, right? We need to jump back into that. So it's something very basic, but it gets overlooked quickly once you start getting busy. And busy for everyone's different. Your first 2 clients, you feel super busy. Maria on this call, Judy on this call, Sarissa, any of them, right? Like 20 clients is busy, maybe, right? And so being very intentional with their own clients, right? But being very intentional with the calendar and giving yourself an opportunity to win, because sometimes you won't notice that for a month, and then you come back and then now you're on the roller coaster. But I think it's a missed opportunity to really take back control of that. And then something I wanted to piggyback on all the training and stuff. I love how forward Laura is. She's awesome. There is a lot, right? And there's a lot of stuff going on, and for the most part, good, I think. But something we've been talking about implementing when it's not something for the growth plan. Maybe it's something a little extra that you wanted to learn about, right? Like you're trying to be the master of FSBOs, and all of a sudden you're circle prospecting 5 days a week, and you're kind of getting off track. For those trainings and anything that's going to happen after your dedicated lead gen time, maybe earning the right to go to that training, right? You earn the right to go to that extra motivational talk or that extra speech or that extra training by doing your one thing every day. And the one thing's whatever's in your business plan, right? But did you earn the right to go to 6 classes this week? I don't know, right? But I know we all want to be good teammates and show up everywhere for everyone, but that can also be a distraction. I think that's a super valid point. But you could kind of gamify it a little bit to say, hey, all right, cool. Am I on track? I earned it. I'm going to go, support my teammates. If you didn't earn it, you probably got to jump back out on the phone or get out in the public and get those appointments. And then it all fits in your calendar that way.
Right on. Okay, I've got one last thing I'm going to share with you guys this morning. So I don't know if anybody, I saw a few of you were on Ben's webinar yesterday, and I don't have a whole lot of time to like listen to extra webinars. To Brandon's point, I can't let a lot of distractions come in my life because I'll never get anything done. But I do try when Ben or Chris speaks, I'm like, I try to carve out the time, right? So Ben yesterday had a webinar. I'm not going to make you listen to an hour worth of webinar, but there was one missed opportunity that when I heard him speak on it, I was like, oh, I got to share that with Texas tomorrow. And it is on the, it's on the home valuation leads portion, right? And I don't want to like beat like a dead horse or anything like that this morning. But I think part of why we're not converting home valuation leads like Gail Smith is because we are just not confident in what to say. Right. And he role played the whole thing out. I'm going to play it for you guys. If you need to get off and you just don't have time for Ben, you're not going to break my heart. It's fine. But it's 5 minutes. It's exactly 5 minutes. I'm going to play it for you because he role played the entire thing. And I want you to hear it coming from Ben, like he was making these home valuation phone calls. Because I think if we were just to follow his example, we would convert these home valuations. Like if you're not aware of how much home valuation leads cost, they're between $40 and $65 each, depending on your market. So they are expensive leads, right? And then when I go in, or Sarissa goes in and Laura goes in and she sees, that an agent has 100 of them and none of them are converted, like we see $650 standing there, right? But it's not $650. It's like those 5 listings that didn't get converted that represent probably, I don't know, $20,000 to each of us, right? So let me play this for you. I'm gonna share my screen, and then here we go. Let's go. And once it pops up, let me know that you are starting to see it. I'm just gonna go to minute 1940. So let me do that. If you're looking for it, I'll pop it in the chat as well. But let's go to minute 1940 where he starts.
Is not to tell somebody what their home is worth. Their job is to give them a range and create curiosity so that we can call them. Now here's the script that I use. I call it my apology script. So let's pretend like you're a seller for a second. Is that okay?
Okay.
So you register on a website, you aren't expecting a call. I'll call you up and immediately I'm gonna say, hi, is this Via?
Yeah.
Via, my name is Ben, and I'm calling to apologize. You have just registered on one of my websites to see what your home is worth. And unfortunately, we didn't have enough information, and we gave you this wide range of what your home is actually worth today, between 400 and 550,000. I didn't know. That's embarrassing. It's as inaccurate as Zillow is. And I was calling to, 1, apologize, and 2, see if I could help narrow that down so that you could figure out exactly what your home is worth today. But before I do, got to ask you a quick question. Were you considering selling, refinancing, or just simply curious about your home's value? And then we would start a dialogue with that person. When you
Can we keep going a little bit, Ben?
Sure, if you want to.
Because this is in my experience, yeah, I was just looking. I know it's a really hot market. I'm just looking right now. I don't want to waste anybody's time. I don't want to waste your time.
Awesome. So if we break script for a second, I always think about my 3 goals. Number 1, get an appointment. If I can't get an appointment, number 2, strengthen the relationship and nurture them. Number 3, if none of those things happen, I just want to get a referral to somebody else. So by her saying that, I say, no problem, Via. I understand a lot of people are kind of standing on the lines right now, not knowing what direction to go. Would it help you if I helped you narrow down the price to a more accurate estimate so that in the future you could make a better decision? Now she's going to say whatever, it doesn't matter to me. Now, if she said, no, honestly, I'm just looking, I don't know, I'll say, great, I don't want to bother you. Just so I don't bother you too often, let me ask you another quick question. If you were to sell Via, would that be in 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years, or like me, are you leaving in an ambulance or a box someday?
Oh, I think it would be in the next, probably in the next 3 to 5 years. I just don't
That's
know
awesome.
where we go.
You don't know where you would go.
Right.
So then I would role play through and ask some more questions. She just gave me a rabbit to chase. So now I can dive into that and get her talking. Worst case, here's what I'm going to say. Here's what I found, Via. A lot of people are like you. They don't know if it's going to be in 1 year, 3 years, or 5 years. But what I have found is that it would be valuable for them to know what was going on in the market. I would like to not bother you, but I would like to see if you'd be interested in receiving market updates about what's going on in your neighborhood. Every time a home goes active, pending, or sold, I'll update you once or twice a month, your choice. Would that be of value to you if you got an update on what was going on in your neighborhood, just by email, nothing too intrusive? Would that be of value?
Yeah, I think that would be good. Yeah.
Right, so then I would get her email address, and then before I go, I would go for my third goal, which is to get a referral. Now, I don't know if you know this, but one of your neighbors' homes sold. They had 27 offers on the property, and what that means to me is we have 26 other buyers we need to help get into homes right now. So I know that you're 1, 2, or 3 years out. Let me ask you a question: have you heard of any other neighbors that have thought about selling that I could connect in with some of these families so that I can help them get moved in before school starts again? And they might say something, they might not. It doesn't matter. When I hang up the phone, I'm going to write them a handwritten note. Via, it's great to talk to you. I set you up on the market reports. Here's my business card. If you ever need anything, anytime, I'm going to mail it out there. I'm going to set them up on the market report. That's going to start nurturing and be all the time. And then what happens is people raise their hands 6 months later and say, you know what? We didn't think we were ready, but yeah, it turns out we're having another kid, and now we need another bedroom. So yeah, now we got to go down that path. Does that make sense, Via?
Yeah, and I just, before we move on, the reason I kept going with you there, Ben, is that I do feel like a lot of agents stop there, because, and that's the most common objection. I don't want to waste your time. They're upstream in the process, and I kind of knew where you were going to take me. It's interesting though. I haven't done that role play with you, and my script is literally almost identical. I say, Ben, what I find at this stage is that data and information is the most useful thing. And I've had many, many clients thank me just giving them information and just giving them data. And you can kind of sit with it and think about it, and you have that to make future decisions on, to kind of use as a benchmark. So it's a really similar thing.
Exactly. My goal is to build my database, fill my CRM.
Yep,
with
right.
future sellers.
Right.
With future sellers. And the only way to do that is to get their information and set them up and start nurturing them with market reports. And I can send mailers and other things to those people.
Okay, so I wanted you guys to hear that from Ben himself of how he would be doing these calls, and not how he has done them in the past. I'll put this in the link as well. Next week, you guys, I want to tell you, we have an interview with Jonathan Hand coming up. He moved to Austin from Chicago last year, and in 305 days, that's 10 months, he net his first 100,000 net, not gross, net. With us. It took 16 deals to do that. So I'm excited to just share his journey with you guys and learn what made him successful when he didn't have a sphere in Austin and he started a brand new career. And if there's parts of it that you can take to just create your journey and create the life that you want, I want you to be able to have access to it. So I'm excited. Thanks for spending the morning with us this morning, you guys. Sarissa and your guests, good to see you guys over there. All of Midland, all of Jordan's team, all of Sarissa's team, San Antonio, Dripping Springs, Austin. It was so good to see you guys this morning. And I will send a follow-up email with all of these links so that you have them all in one place. Have a good one, guys.
Hey, power up.
Oh yeah,
Thanks,
1, 2, 3. Power up.
Just like in person. It was perfect. Loved it.